What's up, y'all? You are here in my living room and I am about to film a product video, and I figured I'd take you along for the journey. Now, initially I got this product in the mail and I got asked to make a few cocktails with it, try it out, see how it goes, and then fill out a survey about it. But I think surveys are kind of boring. So I decided to make a product video to go along with the survey and actually show this cocktail shaker being used making a cocktail. The cocktail, one of my favorite ones, The Last Word. Now, the whole premise of this video, I want it to be kind of very tactile, ASMR-y, you know, a lot of close-ups, a lot of motion, a lot of quick cuts that show the shaker being used, a lot of different angles of the liquids being poured, and then showing the final product. I have a few shots in my mind that I want to try, but I'm sure we're gonna discover some new angles as we go along here, and I'll try to narrate the whole process for you. And of course, you get to see the video at the end to see how it all came together. So, let's begin. The first time I picked up a Fujifilm camera was when another photographer at a community event handed me theirs and said, just try it. And that's how Fujifilm, today's sponsor, works. You discover it through people, through community. That's where the real education happens. And there's so much to learn from your fellow creators. Secret tips and tricks, film simulation recipes, anything to get the most out of a Fujifilm camera. And if you're curious, visit your local camera store, pick up a camera with your own hands, and meet the people behind the counter. They will be thrilled to give you a full walkthrough. And those 5 minutes of hands-on experience will give you more than any spec sheet ever could. Find a local dealer at shopusa.fujifilm-x.com. Back to the video. This is a lovely cocktail shaker, but as you can see, it is very reflective. So we want to make sure we control the lighting first. And I wanted to do it at nighttime initially is because we don't have all this daylight spilling into the room from every which way, which is easier, but I do not have the time to do it at night. So what are we gonna do? Now, the first thing I'm thinking here, obviously, in this living room is we have to black out this window right here so that we can control the lighting. I have all my lights set up here that are all gonna be tungsten balanced and even a little bit warmer, maybe due to these lights that I have in the corners of the house, because I think they're gonna add some nice warmth to it. So I'll probably balance everything to maybe 2900, 2700 Kelvin and make sure the lights are aligned with that. Now, first things first, let's black out this window and then see how everything looks. Hopefully this is the only window that I'll have to black out, and that one can stay relatively safe because it's far away, although maybe I'll draw the curtains and see if that can help. Then, as you see, I have some lights already kind of staged and ready, and I think my approach for the lighting is going to be pretty straightforward. I want to make sure that we're getting some nice even glow on this thing. Now, I don't do a lot of product photography, videography, but I've done enough to know that lighting is super important. Not only where we throw the light, how we throw the light, but also the shape of the light unit itself, because oftentimes you're going to get very shiny things and they're going to reflect, and you want to make sure those reflections are looking clean and that you're not seeing the actual lights in there, but while also getting some nice skip on the product. Let's set up our key light. This is going to be our aperture 600 bicolor with a nice medium dome, also aperture, and we're going to point it right at where I'm going to be sitting, but also try to cover the actual area where we are going to be doing the cocktail. Putting in a diffusion to make sure we still get a nice soft light all throughout, and then we'll also put in a grid to control as we turn it on. We got to make sure we actually point it and adjust it to make sure that we get that spill off of the back so that it's only falling on me seated at the table and on the products. Feeling pretty good overall. Now let's add some backlight to really get some separation of me. First, I happen to have this light that I'll put off to one side, a small circular aperture dome through a Nanlite 150. Also gonna put some diffusion in it, gonna dial it in, and let's see how it looks. Looking good, but it seems like there's a little bit of spill, which we will control in a little bit. Let's get our other edge light because I think it'll be good to separate it from both sides, and it'll work really well on the product. I'm using this skinny Godox softbox, really good for working it into tight spaces and getting it low profile without going in the shot. Let's see how it looks. and already looking better, getting edge from both sides. The last thing, just like on the other one, we're gonna put some grid into both softboxes so we can control the spill without it spilling, without it overexposing everything, not flaring the camera, but still getting it right on the mark. And it's looking pretty good. Let's move on to our camera rigging. Now, the other thing to think about is camera motion. I have a couple tripods, which is a great start, but I feel like I have a few shots in mind, especially with the way that this video is going to unfold, to add some motion into it. And I think that's a very important part of product photography. Slow push-ins, dollies, maybe zooming past it, or even going around it. Now, I already own a small slider. I think it's about 32 inches. It is even motorized so that if I want to do some slow, controlled push-ins, we can do that. So that's great. We have this one, but I think we should add some other type of motion in addition to dollying back and forth. And I think for these products, especially being cylindrical and kind of round, it would be nice to actually spin around the product so we can see it from all sides and get the reflections kind of gleaming as it goes around. And especially for the cocktail too, it'd be nice to kind of rotate around the cocktail. So I found this thing. It is by Small Rig, and it's this kind of rotating ball bearing turntable where you can set the product in the middle and you can frictionlessly spin the camera around the whole product, which is good because even for these products, we can just set the focus on the camera and not have to worry about it changing because the product is sitting in the middle, unless we want to try some other extra flare shots where we kind of, orbit around it a little bit. But just to know that we have the option, I think this is a very cool thing to have. Once again, by Small Rig, it's not too expensive. I don't know how much I'm going to be using it in general, so we'll give it a test to see if it works on this product, but I think it's perfect for this specific use case. Let's start with our static shots. I like using this tiny tripod because it gets me really close to the action, and I love flipping you the bird at random times too. But realistically, I'm just using it to get focus, to get all those drops perfectly in focus. But as you can see, it worked out pretty well. Everything's in focus, shooting everything at slow motion, 120 frames per second. To get even closer to the action, you might hop off the tripod and just put the camera right next to the cutting board, get even close, get all those little details of the lime. Very clean footage here. Next, I like having these low angle shots that will look up at the bottles and make them look very massive. So to do that, we're gonna hop back off the table, go back on a tripod, and put the camera almost in line with the height of the table. And as you can see, I'm rehearsing with the bottles, going back and forth again until I get the perfect shot, framing it center and getting it in focus. Next up, taking our tripod and going onto the table to get these overhead shots, using the same 30mm macro and really pointing into all the different vessels that we'll be filming. Once again, setting focus to a set point and then pouring into that point so we make sure we have clear focus without any autofocus guesswork. Next, let's start to incorporate this turntable contraption. So as you can see, I'm rigging up the camera. There's a little counterbalance on the other side, getting the actual subject in there, centering it, and getting focus on it. I think this is key to get it centered so that once again you can keep focus the same so that you don't have to search for focus. Some variation on height here to where we're both looking into the vessel and up at the shaker so that we get some variety in shots from the same type of rig. Next, we're working in that slider, and I love this for the reveal, for the final shots. To once again, we set the focus to manual, we find our endpoint on the slider, and we arrive to it to where we start out of focus and we land perfectly. And here's a bonus shot that I really wanted to test out. I wanted to see a razor blade going across the plastic of the packaging as it's being unwrapped. What I did is I actually made the camera stationary and I put our packaging onto a slider. So it's a little bit of a juggling act here. And the final frame turns out very cool because it seems like the razor blade is sliding and the camera's following it, when in reality, everything is stationary except the packaging. Now let's check out the final video. I got a chance to review this hex-clad cocktail shaker, and I was asked to fill out a survey about it, but surveys are kind of boring. So I thought maybe I can make a product video using this beautiful piece of equipment instead. And what better cocktail to use than one of my favorites, the Last Word. It's a pretty simple drink to make, 4 equal parts of gin, green chartreuse, Luxardo, and lime. But the ingredients can get tricky to acquire, so you might need to make some substitutions as I've made here. Let's start. First, ice. Next, 1 part gin, 1 part green chartreuse. I'm making a substitution with Luxardo del Santo, which is quite easier to find than green chartreuse. Then we have Luxardo maraschino, also 1 part. And lastly, we got our lime. Now we just close it up, give it a good shake, pop the top cap, and strain it in. And now, I'm gonna get back to enjoying this. Cheers. And that wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching. I think given the limited amount of gear that we had, the limited amount of space, this video turned out pretty good. And I probably got a little bit drunk during the making of it, but I think it was all well worth it. But let me know what you guys think. There's so many of you out there that are great product photographers, product videographers, so let me know any of your thoughts, tips, tricks, anything you want to contribute to the conversation. And consider being a PetaPixel member. You're gonna get all these great perks. Go check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.